Good evening. This is QTV News coming to you live from our studios on Kairaba Avenue, and I am Asma Uba. Thanks for joining us. Here are the main news headlines. President Adama Barrow commissioned four new police stations in the Greater Banjul area on Monday. The National Assembly convened its third ordinary session on Monday, during which NAMS heard from 3 cabinet ministers. The Ministry of Higher Education signed a performance contract on Friday with 4 tertiary and higher education institutions. In international news, the African Climate Summit is currently underway in Nairobi, Kenya, and seeks to showcase Africa's green power potential, among other matters. In sports news, UEFA Pro License coach instructor Kari Okonen Johani from Finland is in the Gambia to assess the Gambia under 23 football team coach Abdou Jammeh. Those and other stories coming up. Do stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us. President Adama Barrow commissioned 4 new police stations in the Greater Banjul area on Monday, including in Serekunda and Bundung. They are funded by the European Union through the GEST project as part of the ongoing security sector reforms. Ansumane Sonyasi reports.
The inauguration of what are described as model police stations ushers in perhaps the biggest police reform project implemented by government since the commencement of the security sector reform program launched by the Barrow administration in 2017. And it highlights a major shift from police stations that offered little space and not so conducive for effective service delivery. The new structures are fitted with the latest facilities, including computers for record keeping, enough office space to cater for various police units, and good quality cells such as this one. Presiding over the inauguration, President Barrow commended partners such as the EU and the German government for their support. He reiterated his government's commitment to ushering in the much-needed reforms in the police force and called on Gambians to support the police in maintaining law and order.
Let me take this opportunity to reiterate our commitment to the security sector reform goals and targets. In particular, the establishment of standard training facilities for the police and other sector institutions remain a matter of concern and priority for us. In this venture, I call on our international partners to strongly consider supporting this endeavor.
Interior Minister Siaka Sonko and Inspector General of Police Abdullah Sanyang underscored how structures such as this one promote a safe, conducive working environment for officers, detainees and visitors, including separate sanitary facilities for women, men and differently abled persons, and went on to give assurances of their commitment to ensuring the successful implementation of similar projects in other parts of the country.
This is an important milestone towards strengthening resilience and community security, access to justice and enhancing people's confidence in rule of law institutions through community-oriented services. Is a building block for inclusive development and democratic governance in the Gambia.
To be able to move forward gainfully and consolidate the reform objective in a sustainable manner, we have to provide standard and quality training to our workforce. These include provision of quality and standard training to the new recruits, as well as retraining of each and every police officer. In that regard, we have given primacy to the establishment of a befitting training facilities among our strategic priorities.
Meanwhile, they also revealed that along with other developments, the police command has established a special investigation unit and is reviewing several policy documents, including the traffic management system, and that 30 new police stations will be constructed countrywide. Corrado Pampaloni, the EU ambassador to the Gambia, and Tanja Roy, the charge d'affaires at the German embassy in the Gambia, said the EU remains committed to ensuring that the security sector reform program becomes a success, and they implored the police command to ensure that the structure is well maintained. The Alcalde of Serekunda, Alaji Sering Babukar Juf, thanked government and the EU on behalf of the community for building such a structure in the heart of one of the country's most populated areas, adding that this will help in fighting crime in the area. The event was characterized by a great fanfare and musical performances by police cultural band and others. At the end of the ceremony, the president led the procession for the hoisting of the national flags administered by the police chief disciplinary officer, Dauda Job, following which the president was taken on a tour of the facility. From Serekunda, the president also visited the new Bundung police station, a similar structure to that of Serekunda, which is also fitted with facilities such as network printers, criminal investigation kits, digital cameras, filing cabinets, safes and projectors, amongst others. Similar structures have also been constructed in Bakote and Brusubi. Ansmane So Nyasi for KTV News.
Well, that project was funded by the European Union through the GIZ project, Moving on, the National Assembly of the Gambia convened its third ordinary session on Monday. During the session, NAMS heard from 3 cabinet ministers on important legislative business, including the first reading of the judiciary officers' remuneration and other entitlements bill. Mamadou Lamin Choi was at the parliament and he filed this report.
National Assembly members have resumed for legislative business after a parliamentary recess. On the first day's agenda are 3 items, namely the ministerial statement on the implementation and monitoring of the annual budget, the judiciary officers' remuneration and other entitlements bill, and a motion to ratify the Arms Trade Treaty Agreement. The Minister of Finance, Sidi Keda, is invited to update Parliament on the implementation and monitoring of the budget and briefs the NAMS, explaining how the 2023 budget has been managed and executed during the first half of the 2023 fiscal year.
Total expenditure was projected to be 12.7 billion. Actual expenditure turned out to be 9.8, which is 7 or 2.8 billion.
Revenue performance for the first half of the year is reported as being below the estimated target in the budget due to delay in receiving budget support from development partners. Minister Keda also assures NAMS that the budget implementation for the first half of the year is prudent, meaning it has been properly managed.
Honorable Speaker and members of the esteemed National Assembly, overall expenditure is within the budget for the first half of the year, standing relatively below the end June estimates. Total actual expenditure amount to 9.8 billion, while the targeted budget expenditure was 12.7 billion, which translates to a 22.45% less than budget.
After the minister's briefing, NAMS take the floor to seek clarification on issues of concern relating to the execution and management of the budget. Coming next on the agenda is the Minister of Justice, Dauda A. Jallow. The minister tables the judiciary officers' remuneration and other entitlements bill. The bill is read for the first time, and NAMS will read it for the second time, during which the minister will explain the merits and principles of the bill. The last business of the day is a motion from the Minister of Defense, Serigne Modou Njie, requesting parliamentary approval for the ratification of the Arms Trade Treaty Agreement.
Honorable Speaker, the objective of the Arms Trade Treaty is to establish common standards for regulation of trade in conventional arms, control of illegal diversion, transfer and transshipment, and to contribute to the reduction of human suffering in conflict-ridden environment caused by the illegal proliferation of conventional arms.
A United Nations General Assembly vote in 2013 passed a resolution for the adoption of the Arms Trade Treaty Agreement. By an overwhelming majority, UN member states, including the Gambia, voted to adopt the treaty. If ratified by the Assembly, Gambia will become the last to do so in the West Africa sub-region. Later on this week, the National Assembly will debate the treaty and vote whether or not to ratify it. Mamadou Lamin Choi, QTV News.
The Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, MOHAS, signed a performance contract on Friday with 4 tertiary and higher education institutions to ensure effective and efficient performance and service delivery in public tertiary and higher education institutions. Julden Jai attended the signing, and this is her report.
This first ever performance contract by the ministry is geared towards ensuring quality and relevant tertiary and higher education, and to develop a scientific and research-oriented citizenry as enshrined in the Ministry's Strategic Plan 2021-2023. According to Education Ministry officials, the objective of this contract is to ensure that the institutions deliver programs and produce graduates who are productive, relevant, and responsive to the needs of the labor market and the country's development needs. Professor Pierre Gomez, Minister of Higher Education says this contract came at a time his ministry is in the advanced stages of implementing the transformation agenda of the tertiary and higher education sector, and that will go a long way towards complementing that policy drive, especially in ensuring higher education financing and service delivery.
2 days ago, we wrote to Ministry of Finance and Public Service that with effect from the next budget that we are now starting now, the bilateral started yesterday, that we are abolishing subventions to our tertiary and higher education institutions. So that for the first time in the history of the Gambia, for government to take care of the salaries of the staff, the basic salaries of the staff of all of us tertiary and higher education institutions, number one. Number two, for that money, since it's not meant for MOHAS directly, for that money not to be sent to MOHAS, for that money from Accountant General straight to our satellite institutions.
Professor Gomez expressed optimism that the governing councils will deliver to expectation. Jibril Jau, CEO of the National Accreditation and Quality Assurance Authority, says signing the contract is one thing and implementation is another. He therefore calls on the governing councils to hold people accountable.
Anything that gets measured gets done. This is why it is important for us to go to performance review, performance management, but it should not be taken as a witch hunt. We have to take it as an opportunity for improvement. We are entrusted with heavy responsibilities and we must be accountable to the public.
The chairmen of the various tertiary and higher education institutions expressed their commitment to the contract.
You can be sure you have good partners at the University of the Gambia, and we'll do all it takes to have a successful implementation of this contract.
And we will all work as a team to ensure we meet your expectations and take the college to the required standards and contribute to the production of the human capital that the country needs for development.
As per the contract, deliverables will be assigned to institutions and their performance will be monitored throughout the contract. For QTV News, I am Julden Yai.
That story by Julden Yai takes us to a commercial break, but when we return, we have more local, international, as well as sports news stories for you. Do stay tuned.
Modu came in to buy some bathroom floor tile, but once he laid eyes on our basins, he fell in love with a stunning basin and with a breathtaking faucet. With a brand new mirror too, at a bargaining price.
So, I got a bathtub too.
Oh yes, he picked up a bathtub too.
And yes, that's Bettymat's Betty Days. Take advantage of exceptional discounts up to 60% on tiles, sanitary, electrical, and lighting. From March 4th to 18th, you will be splurging. Bettymat, welcome home.
The art of juggling is a true spectacle of agility, coordination, and speed. A symbol of progression, precision, and mastery. "5G Speed is like having the juggler in your pocket. With lightning-fast download and upload speeds, you'll easily be able to juggle even the busiest workdays. Whether you're a busy entrepreneur, a creative, or just someone who wants to stay connected. Juggle your tasks with ease with QCell 5G Speed. The future is here. It's fast, reliable, and efficient. First brought to you by QCell. We innovate, others follow.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV News, and I am Asma Uba. Now, Amnesty International's Brikama Bar local group celebrates World Day Against Child Labour in the Central River region. Theme, social justice for all and child labour. Bakari Balde attended the program and he filed this report.
Surveys have shown that about 160 children are engaged in child labour, depriving them of an education, and nearly 79 million children work in hazardous conditions. As a result, the United Nations set aside 12 June to reflect on violations against the child and how to tackle them. In the Gambia, as in many other developing countries, child labor is a social problem with serious implications. It can lead to extreme bodily harm, slavery, mental, social and economic exploitation. This local group is working tirelessly to address this problem in provincial Gambia. Musa Asise is the principal of Brikamba Upper and Senior Secondary School, who doubles as the local group's treasurer.
If our future leaders are affected because of labor they are engaged into, due to what? Due to poverty or whatsoever, because in most cases, most of the family members, it is due to poverty that they assign their children to go in for this activity.
Abu Bakar Diba, the coordinator of Brikamba Amnesty International local group, says serious action should be taken to protect children, and he has the following recommendations for the government.
Every government and her citizens play an important role in ending child labor, which directly exploits children's rights. If there are no laws against child labor, then such laws, I'm assuming if there are no laws that guard against child labor, these laws should be put in place. They should be enacted. Not only enacted, they should be enforced.
In addressing child labor, the government created agencies such as the Child Protection Alliance, the Social Welfare Department, and the Gambia Police Force Child Welfare Unit. Samuel A. Mendy, a police officer who spoke about some of the concerning elements of child labor.
Child labor is completely and has not even a single space in any country, most especially the Gambia, because the law does not accept children to be used on things that are not accepted. Most especially when we say child. We have seen 5, 6, 7 years children out in the street doing a lot of things that are not up to them to do.
Mohamed Sise spoke on behalf of the village El Kalo.
These childs are going to be our leaders for tomorrow. So therefore, I appeal to everyone at home or in village or entire world to give the whole opportunities to this child.
The organizers of the event hope they can play their part and make an impact to one day rid the Gambia of the menace of child labor. Bakari Balde, QTV News.
That story by Bakari Balde takes us to international news in a moment. The African Climate Summit is currently underway in Nairobi, Kenya, and seeks to showcase Africa's green power potential and develop the Nairobi Declaration ahead of the COP28 in Dubai. Jenna Basonko has the details.
The goal of the summit is to transform the continent into the source of the world's revolution in green power. Delegates will deliberate on Africa's unified position on the climate crisis ahead of COP28, the global climate talks in December, and develop the Nairobi Declaration on Green Growth, a blueprint for Africa's green energy transition. Africa is home to 1.2 billion people spread across 54 nations. A clean energy transition across the world's developing nations will be crucial in order to keep alive the Paris Agreement goal of clamping global warming well below 2 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial times and 1.5 Celsius. Globally, wealthy nations have yet to meet the pledge to provide by 2020 $100 billion a year in climate finance to poorer nations, eroding trust that polluters will help vulnerable countries least responsible for warming to tackle the challenges of climate change. Yet the summit agenda appears to have been hijacked. The focus is on fossil fuel promotion instead of clean energy solutions and carbon credits instead of a just transition towards renewables. Pushing for fossil fuels will continue to allow global north countries to exploit our continent's resources and threaten our future. Civil societies issued an urgent call to reset the focus of the Africa Climate Summit from global north and corporate interests to one of African priorities, such as just and equitable phase out of new fossil fuel projects. Kenyan President William Ruto says he wants the first African Climate Summit to help deliver African solutions. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jenna Wasonko.
From international news, let's now take a look at sports news. UEFA Pro licensed coach instructor Kari Okkonen from Finland is in the Gambia to assess the Gambia under-23 national football team coach Abdou Jammeh. Our sports reporter Modu Gajaga caught with him at the late Usman Saho's field, and this is his report.
Training with his players, on the sidelines an instructor is watching to give an assessment. UEFA Pro coach instructor Kari Okkonen is in the Gambia to assess Abdou Jammeh, coach of the Gambia under-23 football team, during his training. It is part of Coach Jammeh's UEFA Pro license that he is assessed. Kari Okkonen explains.
Well, of course, all the coaches have some ideas to manage and develop their own game style. And that's why I think so we are here to discuss that one and follow his training sessions and also leadership in the training session with how he leads the players, the staff, how he implements the playing style.
Apart from the training coaches go through in class lectures and practice with players in the field, they are also assessed in game situations. Kari Okkonen says part of his job as an instructor is to assess the coaches' every situation.
Well, we will have actually many areas where we assess. One is, of course, the content, but especially how he does it or how the training and the exercises are related to the game style or in the context of match. I think so it's very important that most of the training sessions, especially the tactical parts, reflects the match condition.
Abdou Jammeh is a former Gambia national team defender who is now pursuing his UEFA Pro license coaching certificate. He was appointed coach of the Gambia under-23 team and had his first test with the CHAN qualifiers, losing 2-1 to Burkina Faso in 2022 after winning the first leg 1-0. His instructor Kari Okkonen says he is impressed with what he has seen so far.
UEFA Pro education in general, it gives readiness to start the process of being an elite coach or a professional coach. It's up to the coach himself also how he conducts himself and develops himself in the future. As I said, that we have touched many areas from physical side to mental side, developing the team playing style, scouting opponents, how to develop your tactics for the match. In those areas they all have to work a little bit more.
Abdou Jammeh and others like him will add to the growing number of African former footballers moving into coaching. Umudu Gajaga, QTV News.
I'm afraid that's all we have for you in this news bulletin. Join us at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Thanks for watching.